So what is actually happening in Minnesota? It feels like we're trying to kowtow to what the propaganda media tells us. Listen, Trump had words that I necessarily didn't agree with. We're going to discuss that dealing with 2A rights. Also, we're going to talk about how DHS says, well, we may not arrest everybody now. We may just arrest only the criminals. Well, if you come across the border, then you would be considered breaking the law. It doesn't seem like it works the same for me, because if I go 5 miles over the speed limit or I go 100 miles over the speed limit, I'm still breaking the law and I still get a ticket for it. If I choose not to renew my license or renew my tag, I get a ticket for it. So why is it fair that we allow for people who break the law to get passes? We're going to talk about what DHS is doing and why I think that people like Pam Bondi, Kristi Noem, sometimes, I'm going to say this, please don't get mad, maybe a man should do it, and not only a man should do it, a really conservative man who's got a backbone, unlike most of the people in Washington. We're going to discuss all that because it deals with what's going on in Minnesota. Also, we're going to talk about Florida. They just opened up the door to show exactly what is in your food. We talk about food all the time. You see me sitting here, even down to the stuff that's considered quote-unquote healthy, things that's got the FDA regulations on it. Doesn't mean it's healthy. Wait till you hear what our children and what you are eating when it comes to the sweets and desserts and candies. It's actually making us more sick. It doesn't kind of go along with that multi-billion-dollar business called healthcare. Something to think about. We're going to talk about 2 other stories. One about a billionaire saying that the system is pretty much always rigged against you. I mean, it makes it where you have to spend money, because if you save money, you're actually not saving cash. Why do you even keep cash? Because ultimately, the inflation that the government puts, the spending that the government puts, costs your money to actually lose value. This goes along with what Kevin O'Leary stated about how we believe that we should have money back. All the fraud, why don't you give my money back? Because it did not get representation from my taxes. So why do we keep paying taxes if we're not getting any representation? And should we get money back when we hear there's billions of dollars of fraud? I think so. And we will end talking about Ilhan Omar, the situation where someone squirts her with something. She acts like she knows what she's doing. She goes in there. Do you think it was staged? It kind of looked staged to me, because she didn't worry about what the chemical was. You would think that she would be worried about that if it was something dangerous, someone acting a fool. But she knew exactly how to react quickly. Everybody reacted. Cameras on her real quick. It's a little strange. Let's dive into these stories today. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new, please go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up because it means the world to us and helps us spread our message across this platform. So thank you so very much. Again, check out our other channel, Colby Mack. It's kind of following a journey with Jennings and what's going on with his health. Misty's been doing the same thing on her channel, Misty Mack. So please go check out those channels. Also follow us on all the social media platforms, from Facebook to Instagram to all the ones, TikTok, Twitter, all of them. Just follow Real Colby Mack or The Colby Mack, and you'll get our content that we are putting out each and every day. Guys, thank you so much again for watching. Now let's jump into the stories of the day. First, let's talk about what's happening in Minnesota. There's 2 reports that came out, and one, Trump kind of spoke on a hot mic, and I was not pleased with what he said, especially someone who believes in freedom and liberty. The problem with the situation with Alex Pretty was not the fact that he was carrying. The fact is he was in the wrong place doing the wrong thing. Now, there's a difference. I carry each and every day. I carry to my church, I carry to Walmart, I carry to the courthouse, I carry everywhere I go. If you see me, I am enhanced carrying. I don't believe there should be a permit for it. I don't believe there should be any rights held against that. But I do believe that we don't put ourselves in inopportune places. So if for instance, I'm in Walmart and I've got it, and then I get in a scuffle with a cop and then I reach for it, that could be a problem, don't you think? It has nothing to do with me carrying. It has to do with the fact that I've put myself in a predicament where now my life would be at risk, probably because I was doing something stupid. And so Trump came out, and I think that's what he was trying to say, but he basically was stating that he didn't like the fact that he had a 2A right with this guy at this protest. Now, I'll be honest with you. If I was going to a protest, you better believe I'm carrying. Here's the difference, though. I would never put myself in a predicament where I'm wrestling with cops. That's the problem there. That's what everybody seems to be missing on the conservative and liberal side. So we have now conservatives saying, he has to have permits and he has to have the right. The right is already there. It's in the Constitution. Now the left is saying, well, he had it. So all you Republicans are getting mad. See, it's all political speak. The bottom line is this. Can he have it? Yes, he could have the 2A rights. Should he have been in the predicament where he's basically arguing or wrestling with some police and ICE because he chooses to show not just holding up a sign, but honestly causing mischief with the cops? If you go back to the video, he's filming them. All he had to do was just say, hey, look, I'm not trying to cause any problems. But instead, he starts getting in a tussle with them and then reaches for it. That's a problem. Now, Trump and them, they need to watch their wording and their messaging here because they don't want to lose the people who believe in freedom and liberty and try to make some kind of martial state. I don't think that's what anybody wants. Now, that kind of goes along with the second story, and this is where, again, Kristi Noem, Pam Bondi, they're failing you. Kash Patel's failing you too. But just kind of listen to what's going on with DHS and FEMA and all the stories coming out of Minnesota. This was just revealed. Stephen Crowder from Nick Sorter said, we are seeing now that Border Patrol agents in Minnesota are saying they're given new orders now, not to arrest non-criminal illegal immigrants. So meaning if you're breaking the law and you're throwing stuff at us, no big deal. But we're not going to arrest you unless we know that you are a criminal, actually breaking the law, as in you've done something in our country. Now, the difference is this: we can say, well, yeah, we want the defenders and the murders, the theft, the thievery, all that. Yes, they need to go back. But anyone who crossed the border is doing something illegally. They're coming across our border, which is basically trespassing on our nation, so therefore they still should go back. I hate to see Trump and this administration allow for the media and allow for what's going on to make them weaken their position. Kristi Noem is not looking strong here. Donald Trump and his administration is not looking strong here. They need to arrest everybody. Quit throwing fits. Get these people out of the country. Simple as that. I don't understand why this is making such a big deal. Get the people out of the country. See, this is what happens when government's involved. They make a big scene about it. It's too big, it moves too slow, and things doesn't get done. And then all of a sudden, then we become weakened because we're scared of the media. So therefore, we tend to then back down on our policies. Democrats never back down on their policies. I have to give them one thing. Democrats believe in what they do, and they will honestly give up everything and sacrifice everything for their cause, even when it's foolish. For instance, we're supposed to talk about Ilhan Omar dealing with her little press conference, but ultimately, Kristi Noem looks weak, Pam Bondi looks weak, and Trump coming out with those comments were not what I think most conservative, freedom-minded, oriented people would say. Because I'll be honest with you, I carry every day, and I'm not going to stop carrying, no matter what. The bottom line is, I'm just going to be smart, and I'm going to be wise, and I'm not going to get myself in a predicament that I shouldn't be. It's that simple. That simple. Now, let's move on to Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar had a press conference where this guy stood up with, it looks like a water something, and sprayed her, basically. Now, instead of her freaking out and knowing what's in it, like anybody typically would, she acts like she's going to go after the guy, which is very strange. Also, if you look at it, when the guy does it, they allow him to do it, and then all of a sudden, these people run to him, and there's like 2 or 3 cameras on the guy real quick, on her real quick, and she kind of does this little jolt to him. I'm going to be honest with you. Some people online are saying it's staged. It looks a little staged. May not be. But wouldn't you think that she would want to know what's on her? What if it's some dangerous gas or poison? She was like, oh, for the people, I'm fighting here. I'm safe. How did she know she was safe? How did they know to react so quick? Again, for Ilhan Omar, we're not talking about the Speaker of the House here. We're not talking about the President or Vice President. It's just very, very strange. So I want you to go back and watch that footage and think, actually, what could have happened there? Again, this goes back to the fact that now we're taking our vision off of what she's done, as in stealing tons of money for a winery, millions upon millions of dollars to have a winery that's been subsidized by the government, and no wine to show for it, and the fact that she's made another $25 to $30 million on investments that no one really knows from where in a year's time. Or, okay, 2 years' time. So she's made $30 million in 2 years' time, and nobody actually can see what she's actually made money on. But see, we take our eyes off that because we're worried about now someone squirting water on her. I think it looks staged, and I think that's just helping her get the focus on that as her as a victim, and then instead of her as the one actually committing fraud. I think that's what a lot of politicians do. They kind of puppeteer things around, so you quit thinking about it. Kind of like the Fort Knox gold. Have you heard anything about the Fort Knox gold? You know, it's big push, no one hears about it. Honestly, you hear about the list, and then big push, no one hears about it. I mean, it's all propaganda. It's all puppeting. It's so stupid, to be honest with you. Now, before we go any further, a word from today's sponsor, Chapter. Every year around this time, seniors get to the point where they're like, gosh, I didn't know that it was going to cover this, or it was not going to cover this. I didn't know my coverage was going to cost more. I don't know how I actually figure out what Medicare covers, what these parts are, and what I need. That's where Chapter can help. If you're 65 and older or about to be, Chapter comes alongside you, and they're able to not only advise and help make sure you understand the plans, they're also able to help you save some money. The average American who uses Chapter saves around $1,100 a year. Now, I'll be honest with you. Most of my sponsors I understand completely because I buy into the product. This one, I'm not 65 and older, so I haven't got to understand this. But the testimonies I've gotten, it's probably been one of the best sponsors I've ever had, because the people that are needing the help and to save the money and understand Medicare better, Chapter has been a godsend. Go check out Chapter today. There's a number below. There's a link in the description. This is one provider that I'm so glad that came back alongside us and said, you know what, we want to help your viewers. We see what it's doing for people, and it's saving people money. I've gotten people calling back saying they've saved $800 a year. I've got people call back and say they saved $1,200 to $1,600 a year. Please go check Chapter out today. If you're 65 and older, you're worried about Medicare, what it covers, what it doesn't, making sure you're not getting taken advantage of, check with Chapter, because they are the game changer. Check with them. There's a number below. Again, link in the description. I want to go to a story dealing with Florida. Casey DeSantis was kind of coming out, which is the Florida, governor's wife, and it was one of those things where we get these regulations, these FDA requirements. We get all these this USDA food stamps on all our stuff, and we realize that the stuff that we're eating is pretty much garbage. I want you to listen to some of this stuff, and this is, remember, these things are predominantly all for people under 18. I want you to listen to this. The Florida Department of Health found 26 top children's candy brands containing dangerous elevated levels of arsenic. From Black Forest gummies, which is supposed to be the healthy ones, Laffy Taffy, Nerd Ropes, Nerd Strawberries, Anything Nerd, Sweet Tart Rolls, Trolley Sour Bite Crawlers. Hershey Company has the Hershey's Cookies and Cream, Jolly Ranchers Hard Candy, Twizzlers Cherry, Watermelon and Strawberry, Kit Kats, Three Musketeers, Snickers, Original Skittles, Sour Patch Kids, Tootsie Rolls, Tootsie Pops, Tootsie Dots. The most common children's snacks that you see that you would pick up at a convenience store or at your local grocer have, they said, over 200 to 500 parts per billion of contaminants dealing with arsenic. Up 2, 3, 4, 500. Now this goes along with the fact that the baby food we've seen, the fact of Tom's toothpaste. You know, we use Tom's. Tom's was one of those healthy kind of toothpaste. All these things are regulated by your government. And all of a sudden you're realizing that the levels of arsenic is poison to our bodies. You know how sickness, autoimmune disorders, cancers, and things like that happens? It's a constant inflammation in your body. That's what happens. So then your systems start struggling and slowing down. When we put garbage in, we're going to get garbage out. Our bodies are going to falter because of this. I love that Florida is opening the doors to this, but here's the thing. Some of these things on this list are trash candy. They don't have any kind of warning labels on them. They should, like cigarettes do and like tobacco does. But not only that, some of these are considered, quote unquote, the healthier options. Some of this stuff is considered the best of the candies, like the toothpaste with Tom's. You pay top dollar for it because it's better than Colgate. It's better than all these other. It's the top of the line. And all of a sudden you realize it's absolutely harming our bodies and poison. This is what I've learned on my journey from 15 years ago. I started cleaning up my diet and of course lost a ton of weight and actually gotten better health. Now, that was one step. Getting the diagnosis with Jennings, with him having type 1 diabetes and his pancreas being reactive to something in our society, in our environment, our viral, whatever it may be, that doesn't run in our family, is threw us for a whirlwind. Not only do I realize that our government telling us that this is, gluten-free, allergen-free, GMO-free, organic, this is healthy for you, this is pasture-raised. What I've tried to show you the last few days, if you go back to the Vital Eggs, you go back to the butter that we talked about with Kerry Gold, you go back to the Impossible Whoppers, the food system, it is a broken system. I've learned that if I cannot grow it, I don't know if I trust it, even when it has labels on it of being organic. You know, here's the thing. When you think about food that you're purchasing, if you're not growing it and your animals are eating trash food, or you're buying from a farmer who's actually feeding their cows or their hogs or their sheep trash food, then it's still trash food coming into your body. See, this is such a serious issue, and we don't talk about it enough because I believe people are scared to death to try to grow their own food or try to figure out how to do it. It's hard work. But if we rely on a system where it's breaking down to where our children are eating pure poison all the time, you tell me that they're not going to be unhealthy when they get to 30, 40, 50, 60 years old and have to be completely dependent on the healthcare system? I'm just telling you, you have to pay attention to this story. This is a big, big story, and no one is talking about it because the DeSantis has brought it up. So Republicans are not touching it, But the scary thing is, this is just 26 candies. This is not even dealing with the baby food that we saw, the carcinogenic cell-grown mutation meat. This is not talking about all that. See, if we really got into it, like for instance, I love that RFK is wanting to make America healthy again. But he also went to a farm 2 days ago and he was trying to, promote milk. That farm had all their cattle in a barn completely covered and completely living off grains and no fresh grass. Now, is that considered quote-unquote healthy? Well, it may be healthier than soy milk, but what's in that grain that they're eating? Why are those cows not getting sunlight and fresh grass and being a ruminant animal where they can move around a lot? See, sometimes healthy doesn't mean healthy. I've learned that. And now I have a child who depends on us being the absolute healthiest. Pay attention to your food system because it's broken. And until we want to scream and shout about it, it's going to keep on being broken, and the government's going to put their seal of approval on it because that makes you have to depend on not only the Food Administration. Oh yeah, FDA means Food and Drug Administration. So if the food is making us sick and we have to be tied to the drugs part of it, so that means the food and pharma situation is all tied into one. It probably means they have a job for not only for the youngest, but for the oldest among us, because now that same food that they approved is making us sick. Thank you, government. Way to go. Now, that leads me to the last stories of the day. I want you to listen to what Kevin O'Leary said first, and then I want you to listen to another billionaire, what he stated about our economy, what it is. Kevin O'Leary mic dropped on CNN. It says, this is from Eric Doherty. It said, I like to investigate fraud. I want my money back. Is it fair to me that we send these people to Congress to have representation? Remember, taxation without representation is a cause to get rid of all taxes and to have a civil unrest and war. That's what happened and why we didn't have representation. Well, we don't have representation now. Our taxes are higher than they've ever been. And what Kevin O'Leary, I think, speaks honestly is saying, look, if there's so much fraud in the system, they've not used our money wisely, I want my money back. Why can we not get our money back? Why is there not enough people, especially this time of year when everybody's having to pay income tax, everybody's having to report the money they've made, everybody's having to pay more in because the government just needs more money. The government actually doesn't need more money. The government needs to quit wasting the money they have. I always tell you this, it's like giving a drunk a drink. If someone is on the side of the road homeless and they are known drunkards, is it smart for me to give them money to then go buy more of the booze that's caused them the problems? No, the best thing for me to do is to give them something else that could benefit their life, or don't give them something at all, so that way they can sober up and be better. Well, we're doing the same thing with the government. We keep feeding the habit to make the problem get bigger. Throwing money at it doesn't help it. So when Kevin O'Leary says, look, we've got to quit giving all this money to the government because they're doing nothing but wasting it, and then I want my money back, and they're not going to give it back, but they're going to charge me more taxes because of it. California's wasted more billions than any other state, and now they're going to request more money from the government, but also from their people. Is it fair? No, there's no fraud that's being checked out. It's been known. It's been seen. And yet they're going to charge their people more, and people are stupid enough to sign up for it because they're scared to death to push back. This goes along with what this billionaire said. And I'm gonna read his exact quote. And I thought it was so good because we don't really realize how smart some of these people are. Billionaire investor Ron Barron explained the silent math of destroying your wealth. He says your money loses 45% of its purchasing power every year. The economy grinds higher and higher, roughly over 2%. That is the relentless 7% headwinds annually. Now, what he's saying here is because your government wastes so much money and then charges you interest and then has inflation problems because they don't know how to hold down their spending, it means the money you have sitting in your wallet or your safe or under your bed mattress is actually losing value. It makes no money. And he was saying that because of that, what people say is you have to put your money, like this billionaire was saying, and he's in the stock market, so he's trying to push you into the stock market. But what he says, if your money is not going into the system, then it ultimately is losing value each and every day. It says for the average American, they've lost 50% of their value of money over the last 20 years. So he says your purchasing power is not there. You may have the same dollar bills, but it hasn't gained any money, and therefore, because of inflation and interest and the cost of goods, everything has made your money become worthless. He said, but here's the system. That's what the government wants. Why do we want an inflammatory system? We want inflation to keep happening. You hear this all the time. We need at least a 2 to 3% inflation. Why? I mean, I think it's great that TVs don't cost $10,000 or $4,000 or $3,000 anymore. They cost $400. I think it's great that computers don't cost $5,000 or $4,000. You can buy one for $385 at Walmart. See, deflation is a good thing. My dad was looking at a truck yesterday, and he said it's amazing how I bought a truck in 1980 something for $5,000 to $7,000, and he said that was a lot of money, and now we're paying $100,000 for a truck. He said the truck is the same truck. He said actually my '85 truck was probably better because it didn't have all the bells and whistles, and it was made out of metal. Now it's made out of plastic. I'm paying $100,000 for it. Now he didn't buy the truck. But what I'm trying to say is inflation is a cause of the system that makes you impoverished forever, and that's what this billionaire was saying. He was saying you think you're saving money, but actually what you're doing, the government has you always by the neck. He said, because if you're not paying in the system and throwing money at things to buy, because this is a consumer kind of country and economy, he said, you're never going to save money. You're going to lose money by putting the money up. He said, it's a bad system. The system is meant to make you spend money or make you lose value in what you have. He said, that's why we work so hard to keep on adding to our portfolio. And he was talking on his investments because he said, if we don't, the money we have will be worth half less just in about 10 years. He said, we can't do that, and no one should be able to do that. This is what our government does. They make us sick because of FDA not actually giving us good quality foods. They cause for inflation and problems. We see the problems happening with trying to take our rights away in Minnesota. We see the fact that Minnesota's falling to pieces because we're not doing enough to actually solve the problem. And now we have political stunts like maybe, allegedly, Omar. And now we see the fact that billionaires telling the truth. He said, the reason you're not being able to save money, it's not because you can't save money, it's because your money's worthless. The $10,000 you put up will only be worth $5,000 in just a few years because they want to keep inflating the price, keep printing money, keep taking your money, and you get nothing for it. Welcome to being a cog in the system and being a prisoner by your government. It's a pretty big deal. Pay attention to these stories. They're huge. And we thank you so much for watching. Give me your thoughts. Give me your comments on today's stories. God bless.
Yeah.